Right, continuing with our next availability in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, we are joined by Jimmie Johnson, driver of the number 48 Cobalt Tools Chevrolet. Jimmie, Richmond is a good track for you, 3 wins here. Talk a little bit about coming into this weekend and what your expectations are tomorrow night.
Are you sure we won here 3 times? I say that in joking with you because we suck here. We're terrible, and hopefully we're a lot better this weekend. I mean, the last couple trips especially, we've been junk. So, the results don't reflect the effort that's been put in. So that's the disappointing part. And I know Chad's worked very hard once again to get us a good car, and hopefully we hit the track and have the speed we need off the truck. But I believe a couple of those wins I had came on a Sunday rainout, and I would love to be home Sunday. But if it did rain out and we did race on Sunday, I've got a pretty good average in the day.
You scared me there for a second. I thought I looked at the wrong
I saw your
stat.
reaction. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm trying to torture you.
No, you're good. Okay, we'll go ahead and open for questions for Jimmie. We're going to start up front here with Jeff.
Glad you brought that up before I did, because I was going to bring that up. Jeff Gluck from USA Today. How do you explain it? I mean, I guess around the time when you first started your winning streak, or when you won those races, it was early in the COT era. And now there's a new car, or it had evolved, and now there's a new car and things like that. But what's been the explanation or the likely reason?
I don't have a good answer. I mean, we always evaluate our performance here and think maybe it was this, and pursue what we think is down that road and come back with new hope and unload and have a frustrating practice and then into a race, which we manage okay finishes for the most part. But we know we're better than that. We know we should be better than that. And then just being beat by a track is, really gets under our skin as well, because we can usually, accomplish what we need to and eventually figure out a racetrack. So, the piece that I'm not 100% sure, but as you started your question, I was remembering how they used to put down that sealer. And I think a lot of my success came when we had sealer down, and you could move around on the racetrack to find some grip and really get your right sides right at the edge of the grip to get the speed out of the race car. And there might be something in that, but they don't have sealer down, so I can't count on that to help me this weekend. But I love watching races here. The races I've been competitive and have had a chance to really race in the top 5. I love it. I think this is a fantastic racetrack, puts on a great show. It's great for the fans. In my heart, I think we need more short tracks on the schedule. I just need to get this one figured out.
All right, we'll go to Al and then Claire, and then we'll take that.
Yeah, Jimmie, Al Pierce, Model Week. Chad told me yesterday he is trying to get away from the perception that he's 24/7, grinded out, single focus on your team. He said, I even took time off at Easter, which for him apparently is a big deal. Have you seen any change in his passion or devotion to your team in the last couple of 3 years?
Yes and no. I mean, I encourage him to take time. He needs to balance his life better. I'm surprised he's made it as long as he has, working the hours and for the years that he's been in the sport. But unfortunately, usually when he does choose to take time off, he returns and we don't have the performance that we should, and he thinks that the two are related. Just because he took 2 or 3 days off for himself and we have 2 or 3 bad races, there's no correlation there. But in his mind and the way he operates, he's like, well, I shouldn't vacation. I'm not supposed to vacation. I'm supposed to work around the clock. So I continue to push him, and I've done this since we started. In our rookie season together, I think we were racing on the West Coast, and I'm like, hey, man, I'm shooting to Mexico. Come down for a couple days and hang out. He did, came down. We came back and went to Mexico on vacation. Returned back to the racetrack, and performance didn't work. And he's like, I'm never going with you and Shani anywhere ever again. So then, like 4 or 5 years later, our ladies decide that we're all going on a vacation, because especially when you're married, you just go where your wife tells you. So I'm going where my wife is telling me I'm going, and Chad's coming with his girl, and we come back and we run terrible. And he's vowed to never vacation with me again. So we'll see how that goes. But I hope he does find better balance, because the guy deserves it. I mean, he's not going to last 10 more years of this sport if he works around the clock like he has been.
All right, Claire.
Debbie Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. I too talked to Chad yesterday, and he was talking about having to set the car up, both team and you, because you don't like a tight race car. This car is different than what it was last year. They have to change. You have to change. How much are you having to adapt, what you really found to the cars now that they have to set up for you to drive with this year's rules and regulations?
It's been a challenge for sure. We have a lot more, the team has a lot more to play with on the race car, and we know the balance that I like, and it usually is a car that turns stronger than what my teammates want, or the Stewart Haas cars want whenever we can look at setup sheets. But right now, we're still trying to find exactly what gives us the best vehicle dynamics, and then what gives me the best feel. And there are a lot of times we can create the perfect looking race car on the track when we look at video or look at the photos, but it's not turning as strong as I want it to. So that's kind of the world, because Chad, we don't, without telemetry here, there's only so many tools the crew chiefs have. So visual tools, watching videos, and looking at photos is what the team has. And trying to marry those two worlds is tough. And we'll get there, and I think we've been there at a handful of races this year. So we're just going down the road right now, trying to figure out where speed is, and balancing those two worlds.
Is it tighter than you like to drive this car?
I'd say at the start of the season we were a bit edgy at some tracks, and then we got that part under control. And once we got the edginess out of the car, I've had a tight balance, and especially at Darlington, the last race in the schedule. How we finished third is beyond me. That car was so tight.
All right, we're going to go to the back, and then we're going to we'll go Dustin to the back, and then we'll take Ryan McGee after that.
Dustin Long, MRN.com. Jimmie, Steve O'Donnell talked yesterday in Iowa about basically saying they should have the engine package formalized for next year and be ready to announce before the All-Star race. Talking about a reduction of horsepower. He's not stating how much at this point, but any type of reduction of horsepower, how does that change things for you? How does that change things for the teams? What are the challenges looking ahead to next year, whether it's a small amount or a significant amount of horsepower? How does that change the game?
Every driver and team I've spoken to isn't up for a horsepower reduction. We all feel that having power creates better racing, and we, especially from a driver's standpoint, not many like to go down and run the Nationwide Series where you run flat out at a lot of tracks. So we're all trying hard as drivers and members of the sport to say, what's best for the racing. If it's a reduction in power that makes more competitive racing, I think we're all more than willing to get on board and to go down that road. But it's not a guarantee, in my opinion. And an example is Michigan last week, or not last week, a couple weeks ago, there was a tire test there, and they took the power out of the 21 car. His center of the corner speed almost went up 10 miles an hour faster than what an unrestricted engine was running at. I'm not sure that the 8 miles an hour through the center of the corner is going to allow us to run comfortably side by side. But now we've just picked up, a lot of speed through the center of the corner. Are the tires going to hold up? Is the suspension going to hold up? It costs a lot of money to just even put a tapered spacer on the car. We're going to go to work and change all the internals to maximize the way that engine performs. So I sympathize with NASCAR because there isn't an easy way to go about things, and no rule change is cheap anymore, because it's not just a single piece or component that's changed. There's a domino effect, and it changes a lot of things. So I don't know what to think, to be honest with you. I like the power. Power's been good for me. If you look at my nationwide stats versus my cup stats, I need power. I wish they'd add 100 horsepower to the cars. So
if you're saying a majority of the drivers then are not for a power reduction, then why is this being pushed through? What is it, as much just because there's greater long-term benefit, and you guys are more looking at short-term and then the now? I mean, obviously, I think one of the goals is to make these engines run multiple races down the road. So, why is there this push, or are you guys not being listened to in that aspect?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're listened to, but again, the goal that NASCAR has is to do what's best for the sport and not necessarily what's best for any individual group. You know, and the drivers wanting to keep the power or have more power. We're one small group and one small piece of the puzzle. You know, the owners have a say in wanting extended engine life and trying to go to multiple races on an engine. And then I think the end result is sponsorship dollars, viewership. You know, the inbound cash flow for our sport and our industry is the ultimate concern for NASCAR and for our sport to be healthy. And the better the competition is on the track, the better chance we have of that. And I think that's really the root cause. And they do listen, but you know, somebody has to make decisions. And I think at the end of the day, it's really based on keeping the sport healthy, and competitive races keep the sport healthy. But how you get there is to be discussed and argued and debated.
All right, we're going to go to the back, and we're going to have to end with Ryan McGee after that. Go ahead.
Mark Davis, NBC 12 from here in Richmond. Jimmie, welcome back to Richmond. Obviously, with the new format, a lot of emphasis is placed on wins. Can you just touch on being after your first one of the season and how nice, obviously, it would be to get it here at Richmond?
It'd be great to get it here, especially the track we've struggled at in the last handful of times here. But yes, you know, there seems to be at least a conscious effort to win races more, and this big discussion about winning races. But you need to win races to win championships, period. And that's really been the mindset the 48's always had. And we've knocked on the door a few times, and I think a win is out there for us very soon, hopefully this weekend.
All right, we'll take our final question from Ryan McGee.
Ryan McGee, ESPN. I'm kind of playing off what he said. 8 races in, it's unusual for you to have gone this long, and I feel like we ask you this every week, but is there a point where you're just like, damn, when am I going to win a race?
Honestly, I get asked about it, and that's the only time it comes through my mind. I mean, I don't know how long we went in the past before we won a race at the start of a season. But I mean, we still have 28, 30 races left, whatever it is. I mean, I don't have this big fear that I'm not going to make the chase and I'm not going to win a race. If we were running 15th and 20th every week, I'd be up here nervous. And honestly, I'd tell you about it. But the fact we've been knocking on the door gives me great hope and optimism, and doesn't change anything from this year versus any other year for me mentally.
Jimmie, thank you for your time today, and we wish you best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.